Welcome back to Vox in a Box, the podcast that puts the voice in comics. I'm your host, Michael Corley. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we are covering classic X-Men number 82. In this 82nd episode of Vox in a Box, it is titled, Hell Hath No Fury. We open with the body of Peter Rasputin. That is Colossus, nearly invulnerable, super strong, able to turn his body into organic steel. But his organic steel body has been superheated and then doused with gallons of absolutely freezing liquid nitrogen. It has transmuted his body to stone. Kitty Pryde looks on in horror. Even if somehow he survived this process, the form is covered in cracks. If he somehow could revert to human, he would die instantly from these terrible wounds. Kitty opens up her mind and calls out mentally for Professor Charles Xavier. How could he possibly hear her from miles and miles away? Because he is the most powerful telepath who has ever lived, and he set up a telepathic link with all of the X-Men. He does indeed hear her thoughts and what has happened while he is sitting in the school for gifted youngsters. But he doesn't dare tell Rogue, who is sitting next to him, because this has been done to Colossus by the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and Rogue's adoptive mother is Mystique, leader of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. We cut to the Danger Room. Inside, Wolverine is standing, his arms crossed, seemingly ignoring Storm as she flies at blinding speeds. Her body is a blur. Yet as she flies by Wolverine, he is able to pop out his adamantium claws and easily cut a single strip from her cape, showing that he has a skill and a speed that is almost unimaginable. Storm says, "Let's try it again." Xavier mentally interrupts their training session to tell them what has happened. Storm begins to fly Wolverine to the scene of Colossus, when suddenly Xavier is hit by a mental attack, some kind of barrage. This has happened before, and it's been happening to other psychics all over the world, and he does not know where it's coming from. Kitty is sitting distraught, but then she realizes she can't just do nothing, and then she remembers Reed Richards, leader of the Fantastic Four, published an article about a device that he had invented that could thaw out organic matter without causing it any harm. Perhaps instead of stone, that Peter is some kind of super dense ice from being dosed in the liquid nitrogen. She decides it's worth a shot. She literally has nothing else to try. She heads immediately to the Baxter Building. We cut to an alley where a young woman has died. Not from crime or from being shot, but just from being homeless. She was alone and sick and scared. She had run away and ended up on the streets, and as so often happens with homeless people, she just died out and alone. But she is found, her body, by three of the Morlocks: Callisto, Mask, and the Giant Sunder. Callisto has a plan for this body. Mask reaches forward, his ability to shape human flesh into any form, any human flesh except his own misshapen face. He touches this corpse's face, and the skin begins to flow. We cut to the Lincoln Center, and Nightcrawler and Amanda Sefton are making out. Ooh. They're starting to wonder, where are Colossus and Kitty Pryde? When suddenly Nightcrawler looks up. A giant bird, a fire, has appeared above them. It is shooting a flame that is going to incinerate both of them. But of course, you've got to act fast if you want to attack Nightcrawler. Flipping a mental switch in his head, he teleports both him and Amanda's safety. Nightcrawler teleports them to a nearby bridge, but Avalanche, one of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, is waiting for them. He has the ability to move the earth. He uses it to buckle the earth underneath both of them and toss them off the bridge where they will fall to their death before they can begin falling at any speed. Nightcrawler once again catches Amanda and teleports them to safety. Xavier begins to contact Nightcrawler and fill him in on the details of the attack on Colossus when the Bird of Fire shoots flame at them. Amanda has recovered, as we have mentioned before, but really not much until this moment. Actually seen her do anything. Amanda Sefton is a sorceress. She conjures a shield of pure energy, and it blocks the bird's fiery breath. Nightcrawler says, "I'm impressed," and out of nowhere comes Blob, the enormous, fat, super strong, almost impossible to move Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and he says, "Me too," and lands with a thoom, knocking them both off their feet. He grabs Amanda Sefton by the neck, but Nightcrawler is able to teleport out of the way. Blob says, "You either get back here or I snap her neck." Nightcrawler, of course, cannot let his longtime girlfriend come to any harm. He teleports back and says, "Release her, and you can have me." Blob simply says, "I lied." He grabs both of their necks, and he's going to snap them like twigs when suddenly a giant lightning bolt strikes Blob in the butt. It is, of course, Storm. She and Wolverine have arrived. Wolverine says, "The big fat guy is mine." Up above, we see Pyro, the one who has been controlling the fiery bird, talking to Destiny. Destiny is the older woman who has a powerful precognitive ability. She can see into the future, though she is herself blind. And he's asking why. Why didn't you see that this was coming, that Storm and Wolverine would show up? And she's saying, well, I can see the future, but I'm seeing many, many different timelines all at once. Sometimes it's hard to tell which one is actually going to happen. But as she's thinking to herself, she let this happen because she wanted Nightcrawler to get free. She has long, long been best friends and almost like a grandmother to Rogue. She knows that it would deeply pain Mystique if Nightcrawler were to die, once again confirming that Nightcrawler is indeed Mystique's son. Blob does not care for being shot in the butt with a lightning bolt. He picks up a giant hunk of rubble and hurls it at Storm and Wolverine. Storm is able to summon massive winds to send it flying back at him. But Blob is just annoyed by this. One of his biggest powers is that he cannot be moved if he does not want to be. So things falling on him have almost no effect. Meanwhile, Kitty Pryde has arrived at the Baxter Building, home of the Fantastic Four, and heads inside. A receptionist is waiting for her. Wow, it's the middle of the night. Why is there a receptionist here? That is because, as a long-running joke with the Fantastic Four, their receptionist is in fact a robot and is attached to the front desk. In the movie, I believe she is a hologram. But Kitty Pryde simply walks right through her, and as so often happens, it causes her to short-circuit for a moment, her head spinning around with a squark, almost like a little sentinel. And Kitty heads in and begins floating up floor after floor, looking for the device that might help Colossus. Down below, the battle is joined. Storm firing out winds against Pyro. Wolverine coming at Blob. Nightcrawler and Amanda Sefton facing off with Avalanche. We also see another big drawback to being able to see into the future. Even though Destiny can see what is coming, she can't always relate it in a way that's helpful. So, for instance, if you have a guy who can teleport almost at the speed of thought, it doesn't do much good to tell Avalanche, he's about to punch you, when by the time you say that sentence, Nightcrawler has already teleported forward and smacked Avalanche in the face. Wolverine bounces off the Blob, as you would expect. Storm is trying to counter Pyro. Pyro just keeps creating larger and larger fires. As long as there is the tiniest bit of fire, he can create anything with fire, but he cannot generate it himself. And so Storm creates a monsoon, a massive rainstorm so big that it's almost like they're drowning where they stand. Back to Kitty Pryde, she finds the device. It's small, it's compact, it's exactly what she needs. She takes it, holding it, she phases up to the roof. She's very nervous, though she knows she can do this. she's going to airwalk to the building next door where, of course, there's much less security and she can easily get out. Now, Kitty Pryde can walk on the molecules of air when she phases enough, but it's one thing to be able to do that 5 feet off the ground. It's another to do it many, many stories up. If she missteps, she could fall to her death. There's a sound behind her. She stumbles as she's off the building and calls out, "No!" Back to the battle, Avalanche is getting ready to use his Earth ability to bury Nightcrawler and Amanda Sefton, but Nightcrawler simply grabs Avalanche behind the neck, teleports him in front of Blob. So as he fires off his Earth-moving powers, it actually buries Blob instead in Earth. Wolverine gets on top of him, puts his claws up underneath Blob's chin, and tells him, "Are you ready to call it quits?" And Blob says, yes. He doesn't want to die. He's not a fanatic. This is just a job for him. And Storm is a little perplexed. Why is he giving up so easily? And Blob is just laughing at him. "You big dummy. We didn't actually expect to get anyone here. Killing the Russian," he's of course referring to Colossus, "was just icing on the cake. I guess I ought to let you know, you're going to need somebody else to teach that school of yours. This whole battle was nothing more than a distraction. Back at the mansion, there is an assassination attempt on Charles Xavier." We see Xavier is sweating. He's feeling discomfort. There's something bothering his head. It's different than that attack from before. It's a pattern, a jamming pattern, but he can't identify it. Rogue comes up to give him some tea when suddenly he recognizes the pattern. It's from when the X-Men fought the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants at the Pentagon. The same psi inhibitors that Mystique was using. He dodges just in time as Rogue pulls out a gun and fires. It still hits him in the side. He falls to the ground. The real Rogue comes in. I love that her curse word is Christmas. And she sees the other Rogue. Of course, she knows who it is. She knows Mystique in any form. She grew up with Mystique. Mystique shapeshifts into her true form and says, "I've come to take you home. Now let's kill Xavier and get out of here." But Rogue says, "No, I don't want to leave. I came here of my own free will." She realizes that Mystique thinks that she's been brainwashed by Xavier. Of course, Xavier, using his incredible powers, could make Rogue believe whatever he wanted. But she came of her own free will. And Mystique is like, "Why? Don't you love me?" And Rogue is saying, "Yes, I love you. You're the mother I never had. But I'm going crazy. I'm literally going crazy. When I absorbed Carol Danvers' powers, I absorbed half of her life. Her mind is in mine, and I've got two separate brains going simultaneously. It is literally driving me insane. My only hope is the therapeutic help that I can get from Charles Xavier. If you kill him, you're killing my only chance for sanity." Back to the aftermath of the battle, we see a holographic projection of Xavier lying on the ground, Mystique standing over him with a gun. She says, "Release the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and she will let Xavier live." And basically the Brotherhood gets to walk away. The police have arrived, but they can't stop people who could create Firebirds and Blob, who can't even be stopped by any normal means. Only the X-Men can. And so they have no choice. They let them go. But the only problem is Colossus. Colossus is still dead. Kitty has not returned with the device. The police car that had arrived, we hear a squawking report saying that something happened at the Baxter Building. A young woman has fallen from the roof. As we slowly zoom in at the bottom of the Baxter Building where a crowd is gathering, we see the figure of young Kitty Pryde surrounded by the shattered bits of the device that she was trying to bring to save the man that she's coming to love. And Kitty Pryde is dead. And that ends Classic X-Men number 82. I'm sure that Kitty Pryde is absolutely dead, aren't you? I hope you've enjoyed it. You have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon.